What is the story, guys? My name is JD, and welcome to the first episode of Thought Tigers, where we are here to let your mind roar by showing you, yes you, that you can change your life by changing your thoughts. So in this episode, we're going to be looking at the topic of addiction and how you can beat addiction. To do that, we're going to hear the story of Brent, a recovered addict, and how he personally beat his addiction through his strategies, mindset, and any wisdom that he can pass on to you guys. Brent, as an addict, was addicted to basically a who's who list of drugs. So we had weed, meth, opioids, Adderall, cocaine, alcohol is probably a few in there I'm missing too. Bottom line is, if Brent can beat addiction, so can you. So without further ado, let's go meet Brent. Peace. Okay, welcome guys to the first episode of Thought Tigers. You ready to let your mind roar, Brent?
I am indeed.
I still don't know if that's too cheesy a name to have for this. So as I said, with this show we're going to focus on how you are a prime example that you can actually change your life by changing your thoughts. And how we actually met was kind of crazy. When I was working my previous sales job for Swanky, and on the radio coming here I heard that, I think it was 2017 was the first year that opioids, or an actual class of drug, overtook car deaths as the biggest killer of, like, I think it was people under the age of 45 in the US. Like, as a former addict yourself of, what was it, meth, cocaine,
Adderall,
and Adderall,
alcohol.
So, and alcohol.
Nicotine.
Okay, who's just check off, what didn't you do? How does it make you feel hearing something like that where...
I mean, when you look at it, you got morgues in Ohio and in Tennessee that can't even fill the capacity. Like, they have bodies on the floor because they're out of spaces because of the opioid epidemic. But the problem is that whenever you look at something like that, like when you hear that, you're like, oh wow, like that's a big number. It's a really massive, just idea of a problem. But what we don't look at is, instead of, like, that's the fruit. The fruit is the action. Like, people are dying because they're doing all these drugs. But what is the root? And so as a society, we tend to get passionate about, oh my God, we gotta fix this. Like there's ice bucket challenge, whatever, like all this other stupid stuff that doesn't really change anything. Mm-hmm. Because instead of looking at the action, we need to look at the root. And what causes this? Like, why are so many people turning to opioids? Why are so many people turning to cocaine, Adderall, all of the above? Why? And so when you begin to look at that, that's when you can fix the problem.
So what do you think what was your why? Why did you
jumping right in.
We're jumping right in, yeah.
No foreplay. So I think that a big thing is, for me, was growing up in an environment of, I grew up in church, but then whenever my mom got cancer at 8, it was like, okay, like, we'll pray and God will heal her and it'll be amazing. And then she does get healed. So it's like, praise God, like, amazing. Mm-hmm. But then, like, 7 months later, it comes back and it's more aggressive. But, like, we're just going to pray again and God's going to heal her. And then we do.
It's like a cycle.
And she prayed. And we pray, and exhort, because we're, God-fearing people. And then, but then 6 years later, like 5 cancer tries later, like, she finally dies. And so then it's like, did we not pray hard enough? Like, what was this, kind of looking to God like a genie in a bottle. But, and so with that, like, those are like, how do you say it, impressionable years, kind of like where you're like, your childhood, like, you have long-term ramifications. Whatever happens in your childhood will usually play out in some shape, form, or another in your adult life. Mm-hmm. And so when you grow up in pain, when you grow up in suffering, that becomes a part of your identity. So you find identity in victimization. And so with that, like, you got a kid that's angry, he's bitter, he feels like life's unfair, he doesn't feel any affirmation or validation because, like, she's fighting for her life. She can't tell me that she told me that she loves me, but I can't be the focus because she's literally fighting for her life. So then when you've got that, you're like, you got this kid that's like, okay, well then I need to find people that love me because I don't feel loved, because I feel neglected. Again, not her fault, but just, And so whenever you get that, where's the easiest place to find it? In a party. Because I'm good at partying. I can get girls. I can talk to them. I can bring girls with me. in high school, what do you care about? You care about girls, and you care about partying. So if you're good at those two things, now I'm popular. Now people like me because of, not for like who I actually am. It's just because, oh wow, that kid gets girls, and that girl, I got fun to party with. I'll do cake stands with you all night long, play beer pong, whatever. And so when you start partying at a young age, I think I started drinking when I was like 12, or like having like my first drink. You know what I mean? I think I had cocaine for like the first time like 13, 14, 15 maybe, somewhere there. But when you start that early, like as humans, we always escalate because we're always looking like progress is happiness. Even if it's progress in the wrong direction, it's still advancing somewhere. So like that's why you don't get somebody rarely that can just stop at one thing. It's like it escalates like from one drink to five drinks to a case to a case to a keg, whatever. And so when you start that young, it's just you just keep going and going and going. And so for me, I mean, you look at it and you've got just a kid that doesn't know who he is. So I think an important part about knowing, like when you're growing up in a stable family as it's intended, a mother, a father, because there's things that your mother can't teach you, but your father can. There's things that your father can't teach you that only your mother can. That's how you get a perfect balance of a stable human being. Not saying no one's perfect, but you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so whenever you don't get that, you don't know who you are. So if you don't know who you are, you can't tell somebody who you're not. You know what I mean?
What do you mean by telling someone who they're not?
Like if I look at you and I'm like, you're a piece of crap, you're a thief, you're a liar and a cheat. Mm-hmm. You know you're not any of those things. So you can look at me and be like, whatever. Like it just runs off your back. It doesn't bother you. Mm-hmm. But if you don't know who you are, well, maybe I am a piece of crap. Like maybe I am a loser, whatever. Like maybe I am just good at partying. Like maybe I am a drunk. Maybe I am a junkie. I don't know. Like if you don't know who you are, you can't say who you're not. But if you're raised in that your parents told you, hey, you're a good boy, you're a man of character, you're a man of integrity, you're a man of influence, you're a man that's gonna do something, you love God, you love people, etc. Blah blah. Then when things come at you, you're like, no, that's a lie. Like I'm not that person. I'm this person. But if you don't have that, then you're just kind of wading through life and just kind of like throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks. Like, who am I? Like, you can be 10 different people to 10 different people. Like when you're talking to this girl, she's into soccer, so you like soccer. You're talking to this guy, he's into business, so you pretend that you know about business, whatever it is. But you're like a chameleon because you don't know who you really are. And so rather than take the time to actually look in the painful mirror and be like, hey, why don't I like this person? Like somewhere along the lines, like for me, 16 years of just escaping to like partying to going from small town Ohio to Dallas, then going to Los Angeles and partying out there, like getting on MTV, getting on these reality shows, touring the country with these bands, doing like tattoo conventions for a year, just traveling and taking pictures, signing autographs. Like I'm just escaping. And then it's literally, I never had the hard conversation because why would I want to sit down and look at myself and be like, what don't I like about you? Like, what is it about you that makes me feel like we have to present this other persona? What is it about you that makes me think that like you're just not enough, that we have to add all these other exterior things to you? No, I'd rather just go party because then I can throw on my best self. Like I can avoid all purpose because partying distracts purpose. So literally, like, instead of sitting down and getting things done that are productive and that are, meaningful and will actually amount to something in life, I'll choose in the moment happiness instead. And so I'll just kind of float through life with just no real end game. Just like, but hey, tonight's gonna be fun, and then tomorrow we're going here, and this weekend's gonna be this, whatever. And there's no long term. And so I think that it starts in the childhood.
You think that's where it stems?
Yeah. Nobody grows up and says, I want to be homeless, or I want to be a drug addict, or I want to be a whore or a prostitute. Nobody, like, we look at these people and we're like, oh my God, I can't believe that whatever, da-da-da. But, like, no one grew up and being like, I'm going to be the best prostitute ever. I'm going to sleep with, like, 20 guys a night. This is going to be amazing.
Big girls.
Yeah. No one grows up to do that. No. Like, you look at, like, a porn star. Like, no one grew up and was like, I'm going to, I don't know how graphic we're getting, but, But you know what I mean? So you look at that, no one grew up wanting to do that. No, like their dad probably didn't love them. They probably didn't have a good childhood. They didn't know who they were. They found their identity and value in who men said they looked like. And because of that, they then turned around and found identity in that. And then it was like, one thing led to another. And the next thing you know, like they believe this is all they're good for. Who could actually ever want to be with someone like me? I got raped when I was 14, not me, but I'm saying like a person with, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And in their mind, they're like, that's okay, so that's all I'm ever good for, is like having sex. So then they, and it just kind of from there. And I mean, but if you look at it, it's people that grow up in like a normal childhood with both parents loving, etc. You don't see them like going off the deep end doing crazy stuff. They may experiment with stuff here and there, but you don't see them usually ending up in these radical situations. No, because they were raised like they have a foundation.
So do you think this stemmed from like, say if there was a family background at home, that there was like negative self-talk coming in either at these kids from themselves or from their family, and then to escape this and maybe carve their new identity, like you said, they turn to alcohol or drugs as a form of escapism or to give themselves an identity?
Well, I think that it's easier to find people that are partying don't care about who you are as a person. Like, I don't care if you cheat on your girlfriend, if you're fun to play beer pong with, or if you're life of the party. Like, why would I care about that? No, because I care about right now in the moment. And right now in the moment, you're making my night better because you're fun to be around. I don't care if you, at your job, cheat people all day long and sell them broken cars or broken dreams, whatever. I don't care, because right now, like, I worry about right now, because all my actual ambitions and everything else, all my senses are dulled because of obviously the exterior influences you're putting in your body. So when you look at that, like, it's easier to be whoever you want to be, because the guy at the bar can be a loser that never sees his children and is a piece of shit and beats his wife, but when he goes to the bar, nobody knows that. And the way he'll tell him, oh my god, I work like 50 hours a week, oh, he's just struggling, I put food on the table for my kids, I just do everything that I can, and blah blah blah. And people are like, oh man, that's a good guy. Heck yeah, and he's a great pool player that I like playing with, so yeah, he's a cool guy, whatever. No, dude's a jerk off, but you don't see that side of him, and you don't have to, because when you're partying, it's whatever you want to present. So it's kids that, let's say you're good at beer pong. Like, I love beer pong, or I used to love beer pong, whatever. But, you'd be good at beer pong, and nobody gives a shit that, at home, your parents are screaming at you, not me, but somebody else, parents are screaming at you, and you hide in your room, crying yourself to sleep. No one knows that, because at the party, you're just the kid that's good at beer pong, winning every tournament, and getting the cash prize, or whatever, like the superstar. And everybody, that's why we idolize celebrities. It's because we think that amount of attention and like affirmation and validation would make us something. But like the stage is just a personified, or a magnified, I guess you could say, example of who you are on the floor. So whatever problems you have here, they're just going to be 10 times worse up here when people see you. But we don't see that, because all we see is like, oh my god, people are going to follow my Instagram page, they're going to give me 1,000 likes, they're going to, and all this other stuff. Never realizing that if you don't fix the way you see yourself, it's never going to matter. Because first you need 5,000 likes to feel special. Then you need 10,000, because now 5,000 is the new normal. And it's just like a drug.
So how do you reset yourself? So you mentioned it's never just one drink or one hit, it's a slippery slope. So how did you hit that reset button and you're like, okay, or did you have an exact moment that you felt like enough is enough?
Yeah.
Things have to change.
So it was crazy. I literally leading up to the days that I got arrested in a really crazy way. Like, it doesn't even make any sense. It's kind of funny.
You got arrested?
Yeah. So it's kind of, but it's pretty funny because, so I literally was out and about in my girlfriend's car, and I worked at a dealership, so I had an authorized agent tag on it instead of her actual tag, but I guess I left the inspection sticker on. But we had drove this car for like a year like this and never like whatever, and so the guy pulls me over with that, and but okay, so let me back up. Leading up to that, I literally like gotten to the end of like the trail addiction of, I'm like, I remember calling my dad and being like, if this is living, like, I don't want to live. Like, this is stupid. Like, this is pointless. And he was like, what are you talking about? Like, you got a beautiful girlfriend. You guys are struggling financially, but things are going to work out. And I was like, no, like, life is purposeless. Like, there's no point to this. The problem with me was that I was really good at hiding my addictions. So, like, people, like, they knew something was off, but you couldn't ever put your finger on it. And I mean, like, I was pretty successful as far as, like, working, and whatnot. And so, but I remember calling him, I was like, this is living, like, I don't want to live, I'd rather just die. Like, this is, there's gotta be more to life than this. And then all of a sudden I get arrested. And I'm sitting in my cell, and it's like, I don't know, like this crazy, just like, feeling. And it's like I wasn't alone in my cell. And I'm sitting there and I was like, dude, I don't even know if you can work with this anymore, but if you can, like, I'm so done. Like, I'm so, like, I'm just so done. And I hadn't probably talked to God in like 9 years. No, 6 years probably. Which is an even crazier story. Yeah, that's a crazy one. But it literally, and I was like, if you can work with this, dude, I'm done. So I don't know. And I can't describe it. Like, it literally, I never went through a single withdrawal. I never went through a single, like, relapse. It was just like, something happened and I can't describe it. And it just completely changed mine. Like, every stronghold, every thought process, every, all this stuff that normally hinders people was just broken. And it was just a changed mind.
So you literally just asked God, please.
Yeah, it was like, so when I was like 21, 22, I'd been partying a lot. I found a lot, I was working in clubs, because clubs were always easy, because clubs are like new people every night, and you can go to a different club and be like, hey, I'm working at this other club, you should come party with me tomorrow night, blah, 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 and you kind of just like cycle through a bar, like each club, like, and I meet this girl, and she's like, you should meet my parents, and I was like, I don't do that, and she's like, no, like, you gotta meet my parents, like, I feel something, like, and it turns out, like, her parents were the founders of Daystar, which was like the world's second largest Christian television network.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and she was like, I can just feel like the call of God on your life. And it's like, even though like we're not doing the right thing right now, I still know in my heart, like, what God's telling me, like, you gotta meet my parents. I was like, no. And so I meet them, and I finally agree to it. I go, and like, we go to this like convention, and there's like thousands of people, and like this pastor like picks me out of a crowd, and it's like, you need to come up here, like. And then like her father comes like running down the stairs, and he's like, this is who we were telling you about. And he's like, and I'm like, what? And it's like, the pastor was like, you're meant to like change the world, and it's just like, they're calling her God. And he's like, this is him. And apparently they had been talking about me throughout the week. But when we got to the convention center, we got separated. So they went up to VIP, and I got set with the interns. So he's like, this is him. And he's like, oh my God, this is crazy. I'm like, I don't understand what's going on. But the guy who was preaching had a Bible college, and he had told them, if you think that this kid is everything you're saying that he is, even though you haven't met him yet, and I haven't met him, I believe you. And I know that, I'll give him a full ride scholarship.
Wow.
Yeah. And so then like when he picks me out of the crowd, and then the dude's like, this is him, they're like even more confirmation, like, this is crazy, like, And so, but then I blow that chance. Like, that ends horribly. Like, like when something comes so easily, you don't recognize the magnitude of the blessing.
So absolutely. You don't feel it really.
No. You're like, this is like, you walked into it, so you didn't have to fight for it, you didn't have to nothing, so like, easy come, easy go.
Yeah. That
was that kind of situation. And that's what pushed me to move to LA, because then I'd been on TV, so I'm like, I like being on TV, so moved to LA. But, so I'm literally like, God, if you can work with this, like, I'm done. And it was just like, but the thing is that I feel like because people will hear that and they'll be like, well, I pray, and it didn't work for me. But no, like, from that moment on, I was a changed person. Like, everything about me changed. Like, I stopped listening to certain, like, rap music. I realized, like, when I listen to rap music, it puts me like I think back to like selling drugs. I think back to working like with cartels and like people off of like 6th Street in Barrie, going to trap houses at like 4 a.m.
Oh man.
It's like it puts me in that mindset and I can't be in that mindset because that mindset makes me like hero, like makes me not hero. I was wrong for.
You're in charge of your own.
It makes me like it glamorizes the past, like because that's what addiction always does. And even like really just anything bad for you is like a bad relationship. When you're fighting and you're like getting ready to break up or whatever, you think about all the good moments and you're like, and you see that best version of them possible. And like you remember all the way they made you feel originally and all this other stuff, but you don't realize like, no, the last 6 months have been hell. Like she's cheated on you twice and you don't give a shit and you've hit her once, whatever it is, but you don't think of any of that. Cause all you can think about is, oh my God, my world's gonna like crash if I don't, you know what I mean? If I don't have her. Mm-hmm. Because it's like the normal for you. And so with addiction, like if you're not careful, you'll watch something like, you'll watch a TV show that has like clubs and all these people dancing and it looks like they're having the time of their life. And I'll think back and be like, oh my God, I remember being in LA at supper club and there's 4,000 people and I'm on the stage just like throwing bottles, having the time of my life, just stupid. Like literally that was the worst, man. I would throw bottles, I would throw ice all over people in the crowd, like just stupid, man. And it was like literally, so I'll look at that and I'll be like, oh my God, that was so much fun. But then I forget that not even like 4 hours later, I'm walking 8 blocks at 5 a.m. because I'm out of cocaine and I don't want the party to stop. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, or it's 4:45 and I'm in this, or 6:45 and the sun's coming up and I'm having to walk home back to my loft. You don't think about that, and the sun's like hurting your eyes because you're so strung out. But you don't remember that because you'll just look at the party and be like, oh my God, yes, that was what's fun, and you'll think about that because whenever so people look at it and be like, well, I've prayed, but have you changed everything about you? Once you prayed, like, have you safeguarded your mind and your heart? Because that's where like the things come into, is what are you like? Okay, whatever you watch, listen to, or see, has to come out in an action, a word, or a thought.
Okay.
So if I watch them partying, I'm either gonna start thinking like, oh, that was awesome, that was cool, like I remember it was nice, or I'm gonna actually go out and do it. Or I'm gonna I'm gonna talk about it. And then the more I talk about it, the more I'm gonna wanna do it. So when you start to safeguard your mind, you're like, okay, I can't watch these kind of shows. And people will look at that and be like, it's elementary, but it's really not. Because it's like, now I need to stop feeding lies into my system, and I need to start feeding truth. And the truth is that's not who I wanna be. So if I have to take those extreme measures, whatever you wanna call them, then that's what I'll do because this is more important to me. So like the thing is that when I was sad, I would go party because I want to be around people. When I was lonely, I would go party because I want to be around people. If I was happy, I want to celebrate, so let's go party. Like everything about an addict's mind has to change. And the biggest thing is retraining. If you grew up in a home where your dad and mom fought every single day, screaming and cussing, it doesn't faze you. But if you brought over one of your friends, they'd be like, what the shit?
What is going on?
And you're like, oh, no, that's just mom and dad. Don't worry about it. You go back to playing Xbox like no big deal. Mm-hmm. But the other person's like, what in the hell is going, like what? Oh, we're just playing. Okay, this isn't happening. Okay. Like, so as an addict, like, it's normal to go out and do these things. You have to change everything because your instinct is that this is normal. So now whenever you're not doing it, you're looking at like all this free time and you're like, what am I supposed to do with my life? Because you can't hang out with the same friends. Like those friends are, because they either A, they don't see a problem with what you're doing, or B, they see a problem with what you're trying to do because they're like, nah, dude, like, bro, you're fine. Like, this is what we do. Come on, this is who we are. And you're like, no, like, I don't want to be that anymore. Like, that person, like, is in a cycle of just self-destructive tendencies that doesn't amount to anything.
Is that hard breaking out of that cycle, especially with your friends looking at you? 'Cause you said they judge you somewhat for trying to break out.
Well, I mean, you either get the friends, like, especially in, like, lower income brackets, you will get the friends that'll be like, oh, like, do you think you're better than us? Like, you're too good for this now? Or if you're like, or just other friends that are like, what are you trying to accomplish? Like, dreamers are the worst people to fight through life in the sense of the kid that's playing guitar for 10 hours a day in his garage, like, loser, get a real job. Like, what are you doing? But then he puts out one record that revolutionizes music, and it's everybody's like, oh my God, how did you do it?
I know that guy.
Yeah, you know? And so literally when they look at you and you're like, no, like, I have dreams, I want bigger things, they're like, oh my God, like, whatever. Like, this, because they're so, the status quo has been established as, like, those friends, that's where they're going to be. This is what they do. And they're okay with that. But when you begin to want more, you begin to realize, like, dude, we were doing the same shit last year. Like, nothing's changing. What are we doing? We get one shot at life, and we're sitting here wasting it at the local
At the
Hooters.
bar, yeah.
Like, come on.
Yeah.
But to them, like, that's not a problem because, like, it works for them.
So what would be the habits you think that helped you the most break out of that cycle?
I think that
Or behaviors, if you want to put it. Habits, behaviors.
I think that it's a big thing of what you put in. Like, okay, so when you're trying to, like, when you have addictions and you have these things that have a hold of you, the only reason why they gained access initially is because you were trying to fill something. Whether you were lonely, whether you were sad, whether you were happy, whatever it is, you had some sort of void that you were trying to fill.
So in relation to your addiction, what habits do you think were the most instrumental in you kicking your addiction or changing your life?
I think it began with safeguarding my mind and safeguarding my heart, and realizing that this life, like, when you're searching for something externally to fill this void, like an addiction and alcohol, you know, you're sad, you're gonna go party, you're trying to be around people, all this stuff you're searching, like, externally for, you forget that, like, this is your life, and you get one shot. So you've literally got this one life that you are wasting by trying to search for everything out there and finding nothing, because it's never enough. Whether it's money, whether it's alcohol, whether it's drugs, it's never, like, you're always, until it's here, you're always gonna be searching out there. And so with that, like, you have the right to say no.
It's hard, isn't it?
But you have the right just to look at somebody and be like, you're not good for me. I'm sorry. Like, I love you, but you're not good for me, and I can't do this anymore. Mm-hmm. But it's like, it's hard, yeah. Because you have to, like, but, like, the thing is, like, it shouldn't be. Because, like, the only reason why you wouldn't say that is if you don't love yourself. But addicts usually don't love themselves. So they're like, no, don't leave, like, because I love you, but I don't really love you. I just need you to say you love me too, because I don't actually love myself. But I think that you love me, so I want you around me so I can feel loved.
Even if they're, like, poison in a sense to you.
It doesn't matter, because, like, at least I feel something to try to fill that void, that pain. And so, but then, like, when you get freedom and you start, like, because the thing is, like, an addict's never fought for themselves. Because they've never looked in the mirror and been like I had to look in the mirror and be like, what don't I love about myself? Well, I didn't like my teeth. I was a skinny little boy. Like, I was pretty skinny. Yeah. But I always had this big mouth on me because I love to fight, you know? And it's like, I could just cut people to shreds and with my words. And it was like, but why did I do that? Well, because I feel worthless. So rather than speak life to somebody else, I'm going to bring you down to my level. And so with that, I had to look and be like, what don't you like about yourself? And I'm like, well, like, you're kind of scrawny, dude. Like, you don't have abs. You're just really skinny. You know?
said this to yourself.
Yeah, you got to look at yourself. You got to be honest.
It's hard.
That sucks. Because you're looking at it and you're like, why are you a douchebag? You know? Like, I remember when I was little, before my mom died, she wrote me a letter. And, it sucks. I had a house fire and it burned up everything. And I can't remember 90% of the letter, but I will always remember this one part, is that she was like, Brent, you're too young right now, but one day you're going to have to grow up and decide what kind of man you want to be. You're either going to be the kid that picks on somebody and everybody else follows in, and the kid just gets humiliated, or you're going to be the kid that says, no, stop. And everybody will stop because they don't want to face you. Because they know that if they face you, they'll turn into the very kid they were picking on. You'll turn them into that. And she was like, you're like one day you're gonna have to decide that you don't want to be the kid that is leading the charge, but you have to be the one that stops it. But only you can make that decision, and you'll know when it's time. And so, looking at that, I'm looking in the mirror, and I'm like, F-bomb, you know?
Ouch.
You know, like, is that guy still in there? Is that kid still in there? And can I be that guy? It's so much harder to love people than it is to be mean to them. Like, it sounds stupid because it should be easy to love people, but it's hard because they'll reject you. Because, like, it's like the kid in the ghetto that's growing up, like, it's acting out in class. You label him as, like, a hoodlum and whatever you want to call it. But the reality of the fact is that he doesn't get any love and affirmation at home. That's why he acts out, because he wants attention. He just getting it in the wrong way. And then when you try to love him, he doesn't know what love actually looks like, so he rejects it. He rejects the very thing that he wants and needs because he doesn't know how to accept it. It's like this horrible cycle of, like, because he's like, what do you want from me? And you're like, nothing, I just want to love you, man. That's why the teacher, like, they'll run over a teacher that actually cares, because the teacher's like, I just want to love you and see the best come out of you. And they're like, fuck you, you know? But so you're looking in there and I'm like, man, like, what is, like, why are you this way? And I realized because, like, if I was arrogant and people saw me as arrogant, they would naturally assume that I know that I'm better than them or think that I'm better than them. So therefore, they would never question it. Because I don't care what anyone says, perception is reality. That's why you can have people that have shit and literally, like, nothing, but their kid plays football on Friday nights for the high school team, and when he throws a touchdown, they're the greatest parents ever. They're like, this is, whatever. But they go back home to jobs that suck, janitor at Walmart or, greeter. No offense to anybody that works at Walmart.
Yeah.
I'm saying, but,
I get it.
But they're the happiest people ever. And then you've got a billionaire that's terrible because he's pissed off and angry and his wife hates him and whatever else, and all he worries about is stress and work and, etc. Because their perception is, man, we're so blessed that we re-raised this son that now gets to play football. Like, that's their perception, is that life is amazing.
So do you think gratitude is a big part in happiness in that respect?
Oh, yeah. But you can't be grateful for something that you don't value. And if you don't value yourself, then you won't value your life. So when you're looking in the mirror and you're like, man.
How do you change that self-talk, though? Because I'm probably, a lot of people out there can admit to this, that their harshest critic. Like, if I had a boss who treated me the way I treat myself at times,
yeah,
I'd want to quit that job. I was like, I don't deserve to be treated like this. Like, how do you change that self-talk towards yourself where you become your biggest fan as opposed to your biggest critic, like a lot of people, I'm sure, are?
I think that it comes down to this I think it comes down to love. But like whenever you realize, like, who God says you are, okay, truth is truth. Would you agree?
Yes.
Okay, so, like, whenever we were meant to recognize truth. And so when you're reading that, like, I am fearfully and wonderfully made, I am more than a conqueror, like, and you're reading all these scriptures, and it's all truth, and it's just pa, 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 and it's hitting your heart. Like, where there's light, there can be no darkness. So, like, for me, I stopped, like, I realized that progress, I either had to progress or die, but I had to start progressing in the right way. And so with that, like, I started listening to podcasts and YouTube teachings of, like, my favorite pastors and preachers. And I mean, I probably listened to, like, 3,000, like, in the first year. It was, like, literally, like, hours and hours a day. But it was truth, like, hitting my system, like, truth that I couldn't deny. And it was like, I no longer watch, like, TV and watch lives, or, like, looked at Instagram and lives that I wish I could have. I started listening to people that, like, Eric Thomas. I love Eric Thomas. That dude is a savage. But,
is
like,
he a YouTuber or?
He started on YouTube.
He's a pastor, though, is he?
Well, I think technically he could be, but technically his like, official, like, label, whatever you call it, is the #1 motivational speaker in the world.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, like,
what's his name again?
Eric Thomas.
Eric Thomas. So is there?
He came from literally, like, eating out of trash cans, homeless at 18, and went on to get a PhD. And, like, now, like, I mean, he's spoken to, like, every NBA team, every NFL team. Like, he travels around the world, like, just, it's what he does.
So is there anyone besides Eric Thomas, any other podcasters, YouTubers, or books even you'd recommend to people out there?
I think that, well, I think a better question first is how to change that inner voice.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
A is the truth, but then it's looking at it and realizing, like, hey, like, when that inner voice tells you, like, man, you need to get your shit together, like, oh man, and it compares it to other people as if other people have it figured out. but they don't. Like, nobody has life figured out. What a beautiful conclusion of reality. Like, you don't have life figured out. I don't have life figured out. Now we're following it to the best of our understanding of what it looks like, but we don't know for sure. Like, what considers a successful, happy life? Well, that answer is like infinite, because so many, like, you know, anybody can have a different answer for it of what makes their life happy, what makes their life good. So when you realize that, you stop holding yourself to these other standards. Look at someone like Jeff Bezos. 16 years ago, his office was literally the size of this little space. Like, I've seen the picture.
Serious?
It's like Amazon, and it was literally from where this doorway is to here. It was just that size, and it said Amazon 1999, and now he's the world's richest man. 16 years, like, office to nothing to now like the biggest company in the world. Like, but he didn't do that till he was like 34 or 35. Like, we look at these people and we're like, oh man, they were already here by this age, or they were here, and we put these comparison games. But when you stop the comparison and you're like, okay, I can't control what anybody else is doing, but I can control what I'm doing. Today I'm gonna literally, I think it was Michael Jordan who said, I never competed against anybody else, I only competed against myself, and I wanted to be better than I was the day before. So when you look at that, you're like, okay, so you need to find something that's progressive, something that makes you happy. Like, whether I don't care if it's writing, or whether it's, you know, DJing, or whether it's, you know, lifting, or like fighting, or like, you know, whatever it may be. Find something. It can be music, it can be learning, whatever it is, but find it and begin to educate yourself with it. And do something that you're passionate about. Like, there's no mistake in why you're passionate about the things you're passionate about. Like your spirit gives you keys, like hints, because you know what excites you. You know what feels like you can do certain things that don't even feel like work, and like you can do them for hours, and like you're still like doesn't even affect you. But then you can go do something else for like an hour, and you're like, oh my god, this is the
like, when's this over?
Yeah. You know what I mean? And so your spirit knows, your body knows, but whenever to tone that voice down, you've got to start really like taking every thought captive. No, I'm not a piece of shit. I'm not a junkie. That old guy was. Yeah, that guy was a dirt. Like, I remember like when the mother of my child, we would get into arguments from after like I first like got like after like, you know, probably like a year of being sober, and she'd be like, you know, you were a drug addict. You know, I'd be like, I know, he was. That dude was a piece of shit. Like, that was a narcissist. Like, I can't believe you dated him. What were you thinking? But no, you know, and I'd be like, but like, yeah, you're right, 100%. And she'd be like, what? And I'd be like, no, you're right. I 100% agree with you. I'm not going to defend that guy, because that may have been who I was then, but it's not who I am now. Like, if you're an actor and you just got cast in a movie where you played part A, and then a year from then you got casted in a movie and played part B, why would I confine you to part A? No, he can only play this role. No, like, you can play any role you want, right? Mm-hmm. Well, why can't you apply that to your everyday life? That may have been who I was yesterday, but that's not who I am today. I don't have to be that person anymore. I can start a new role today and decide, hey, this is who I'm gonna be. And the worst part is that everybody will hold you to your past and be like, oh, bro, okay, like, we'll see, or whatever. But you make the conscious decision to be like, no, like, this is who I'm gonna be. I learned my lessons. Everything that happened yesterday happened, and that's great. But they've served their part, and now they can move on, because now I'm moving on in this direction to who I really am. This is who I'm gonna be from now on. Like, you're not confined to that stuff. Like, that person's dead. It's gone. Past. Let it go. But people don't want to do that, because they get haunted by these thoughts of like, I can't believe I did this. I can't believe I did that. I can't. Like, no. Like, that's serving you no good whatsoever. Like, what are you gonna do today? And make the conscious choice. And we get scared though, because we're like, what are you thinking? Oh, I thought you were gonna say something.
Oh, no. Please keep going.
You get scared because it's like, nobody okay, life is this giant process, right? Like, whether you're in a marriage, whether you're in a relationship, whether you're in a job, you're going through this process of trying to get to a promise. Like happiness, a happy marriage, a good marriage, a new promotion, whatever it is. But the moment you get there, then it's like, okay, now we need to go through the process of being parents, and now we want kids. So everything in life, you're always in process. But after every process is a promise, if you'll stick it out. So when you're looking at that, never be afraid of the moments that, like, by definition, we're all rookies when we start something new. Like, every single one of us was. Some are better than others, but we're all rookies. And you never should be fearful of those moments, because they're like the roots that allow the tree to grow deep. And the more that you mess up, the more that you're going to be better in the long run, because you know all the things not to do. Like, it sounds dumb, but it's so true. Like, I can value life so much more and value myself so much more because I never valued it before. And I looked for all this other stuff to value it for me, and it didn't work. And now I'm like, oh wait, I had to love myself first. So now that I realize that, I cherish that. I hold it like a child next to me, and I'm like, you can't have this. Like, no, you're not good for me. Like, that girl at the gym, yes, she is smoking hot. She keeps working out in the machine next to me, but guess what? I know she's bad for me. That's gonna derail me from purpose. And before, I would need her to smile at me for me to feel good. But I don't need that anymore, because you know why? I fought tooth and nail to look in the mirror every single day and be like, you are worth this. You are worth a shot at life. I am not gonna fall back. I am pushing forward no matter how lonely, no matter how dark it is. I won't die for this thing, but I'm gonna live my best life. And she's gonna be a distraction to that. Because either she's gonna party or she's gonna, just take my focus off of me. Because the thing is that whenever you fight for yourself, you no longer give yourself away easy. Like, if you don't fight for yourself and you're just like, whatever, you'll have a million one-night stands because you don't care, because you don't value yourself. But when you sat in the trenches and fought to become who you want to be as a person, and I'm not saying that anyone's perfect or that they're arrived, but you're on that path, you look at that person and you're like, no, like, you're a whole bag of issues that I don't want. Sorry, I don't care how hot you are. You know what I mean? Because I realize what I'm worth now. Like, I'll give you a stable relationship. It can be equal. I don't need anything from you. You could make my life better, but my life isn't going to be worse because you're not a part of it. But for other people, they're looking like, okay, when I slept with all the girls that I've slept with, I was trying to fix my brokenness by taking advantage of theirs. And it never works.
It's just like a self-defeating cycle.
Yeah.
That perpetuates
addiction. Self-defeating cycle that perpetuates everything.
Mm-hmm. And then, so if you were, say, the person on the other end of that camera, an addict out there, like you in the thumbnail, the picture you show me, Super Skinny Brent, if you could talk to him or all the people out there right now, and something you talked about today, you have to do it today to really hit that reset button, what would you tell them to do today to start getting their lives back on track? For something they can actually walk away and like, okay, this is how just steps. Like you said, the elephant one bite at a time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you look at the elephant and you're like, oh my God, how am I going to eat this? So you just a bite at a time. I think it is, for me, it starts with pray.
Okay, say for people out there
that aren't spiritual?
Yeah, just general people.
Try it anyways. But I mean, literally, like, so if you don't believe in it, what's the worst that could happen? Nothing. But from that point on is literally like, because for me, to disvalue that would disvalue everything that got me to where I am.
Yeah.
And so for me, I would say try it. Like, what do you have to lose? Like, God, is there a God out there? God, I don't believe in you. But if this is real, like, help me, show me. Like, what's the worst that happen? Nothing happens, and then you're like, okay, like, what do you have to lose? Like, when you're, like, as an addict that wants to get clean, like, you have to realize, like, you already are in the worst position of your life. Like, you're at a place where probably people don't trust you. You're at a place where you're hiding it, maybe. So your life is a constant, like, just game of shadows, you know? You're at a place where, you know, you're probably low on money, struggling to get by. And you've got to look at these hard truths, like your family probably doesn't trust you. Your friends probably aren't. You might have 5,000 Facebook friends, but not 5 real ones. And you have to look at all these hard truths and realize, like, this sucks, but I want better. And you might have physical withdrawals, you might have mental withdrawals, but you have to look at it and make up your mind and say, listen, if I keep going down this cycle, it's never gonna change. So obviously, like maybe you were like me, and you had tried to get clean before and it didn't work. So what do you have to lose by trying something new? Like I think it's what is Einstein or Edison that was like the same result, trying the same thing and get a different result is insanity.
Yeah, that's it. Trying the same thing over and over,
but hoping for different results. Insanity. Yeah. So what do you have to lose by prayer? Like, God, if you and Jesus are real, like, show me
just
you're
help
real.
me.
Yeah, like I'm at the end of myself because clearly everything I've been trying isn't working. And so with that, so you take that and you start there, and then you start and you say, okay, today I'm gonna start because your body's gonna naturally withdraw, or it should, because you're either gonna because it the effect that it has. So you start with endorphins, I think that's what they're called. When you work out, you get endorphins,
a rush.
Yeah, like a run-in. Start with a little workout, because the cool thing about working out, the thing that I love about it is it changes your mindset. Because if you can make a strict habit of working out every day, then you begin to see yourself as a winner. Why? Because you get shit done. Like no matter what, you go to the gym and you do whatever you intended to do, whether it's a half an hour, 3 hours, whatever. But you get things done. So then you see yourself as a person that accomplishes things. So then the more you work out, the more you set goals. Well, before I was only lifting 30 pounds. Now I'm lifting 50. Okay, hey, look at that. I set goals, I accomplished them. Now I'm going even further. You're setting, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And setting all the cards in your favor to see yourself as a winner. And when you see yourself as a winner, you'll become a winner because you are what you think. So literally, it's today I was running a 5-minute mile, or an 8-minute mile, but a month from now I might be running a 7-minute mile, then a 6-minute mile. Now I can run a 4.5-minute mile. It's I didn't start off that way, but that's it progressed. And so literally and when you're running, it clears your head. I love running. For me, the first year that I was sober, I ran 1,262 miles. Yeah, it was nuts.
Jesus.
Yeah, it was nuts. Literally. But you know what? It was amazing because I would put on worship music and I would just be gone. And I would go for hours. But it literally came down to that kind of stuff. I blocked out all the negative. And I realized, dude, you're better than this. The person listening to this is better than this. That's not your life. That's not who you want to be. That's not who you were destined to be. Not only do you deserve better, but the people who love you deserve better. And until you realize that and you get out of this victimization of being well, I could easily I sat there for I don't know how many years and was my mom died when I was 14. I was on my own since then. This is just the way it's always been. I blah, blah. And people would understand. They empathize with that. Yeah, you're right, man. That's crazy. Growing up without a parent, that's, or any parents, that, da, da, da. And they go with it. And it's that's a terrible story. Yeah, you're right, man. It's crazy you made it this far, blah, blah. No, you should have sat me down and been you know what? She would have wanted better for you, dipshit. What are you doing? Have a hard talk with them. Be listen, if someone's listening and they have a person in their family that's addicted, pray for them. But sit them down and be listen, is this who you want to be? Is this how you want to be portrayed? This is how friends and family see you. Is that who you want to be forever? No. No one wants to be a loser. Sorry, it's the truth. You're adding nothing to society. Every person, every single thing. The thing about it was, when I was an addict, no matter what, every single person I met, I took something from them. Whether it was their validation, whether it was their affirmation, whether it was their money, whether it was their drugs, whatever it was, I always took. I never added to. And if I added to, it's only because I was adding here, but I was taking here. You know what I mean? Yeah, I gave you a good time, but I took all your money while I did it, kind of thing. And so literally, it was never just a positive exchange for anybody. I mean, they could be well, yeah, I had fun, but I'm broke now, but whatever, you know what I mean? But it was never a truly positive interaction. No one wants to be that. That's a horrible person. You know what I mean? But
absolutely,
we don't speak about it that because we're oh, whatever, da, da, da. But no, look yourself in the mirror and be this is not who I want to be. If you could write one thing on your mirror, it would just be this isn't you. And realize the gravitude of that situation. Because what you're looking at isn't you, but who you're going to be is going to be better than this person. And you're going to make the conscious decision to be you know what? I'm going to fight for this every day. It's going to be hard, but I'm going to thank God 2 years from now when I'm in the best shape of my life and I've got my life on track, you know, I'm going to find things. If it isn't fitness for you, you got to find something that you can consistently pour into and feel like you're progressing. Because the moment you feel like you're caught in the middle of nothing, because there's going to be times where you literally, I think probably the hardest thing besides breaking mindsets and getting sober is that you have to face down every demon that you've put to sleep. Not put to sleep, but you've, over the years, you've just like numbed them or like, you know, like, kind of sedated them because you just partied your way through them, never actually had to face them. When you become sober, like, there's no more running from those bad boys. And they've been waiting for years probably to have a conversation with you. Yeah. And all of a sudden, there you are. And that's the thing that I look at people and I'm like, you really want to face that alone? Like, when you have a loving God that, you know, let's just take even a God out of a picture, but just look at all your demons, everything that you're going to have to pile through. Whether it's making amends with people, whether it is, whatever it is. Like, you want to go through that alone? More of a man than I am.
It's scary.
Like, you got to look down and you got to go look at all those people that you were a horrible person to, and you want to try to do that alone? I wouldn't want to. I thank God that Jesus helped me do it. Because there's going to be times where literally you have no one else to talk to but God. Because you literally, like, you've discontinued all of your friends. You've changed your phone number. You've either, for like 4 months, I took off all social media. And was like, I just need to be me. Like this, I need to be me. And so with that isolation, it was like, it's just you and you. And I want someone to talk to. And I could sit there, God, I don't know what we're going to do. God, why can I not be that person? Why can I not? I want to be this, but why am I stuck with this? What in the world? And then it's like, okay, how do I change this? And for me, you know, a big day-to-day action was finding somebody else to love. Because your whole life you've taken and taken and taken and taken. Now it's time to give back. Even if especially if it's to a stranger. And don't tell anyone. Don't be like, you know, oh, da da da, you know. Like, I mean, if you're talking to people, it comes up in conversation, whatever, but don't just like, you know, go around like, oh, I did this, that, that. You know, it's just like, make it an everyday lifestyle everywhere you go. Whether it's the homeless guy and you give him $5, or it's the, you know, you take a shopping cart for an old lady. You're like, hey, you want me to take the cart thing for you so you don't have to walk all the way over there? Whatever, you know, or it's paying for a stranger's meal. You will find the craziest self-appreciation is loving people that can do nothing for you. Because it's like, it's the purest form of love. I want nothing from you but just to love you. And you don't even have to know that it was me that was loving you. I might pay for your meal and just walk away. Or I might drive, you know, do the whole pay it forward, drive it, you know, to the drive-thru, whatever it is. But you literally, when you become love, God is love. So when you become love, everything that's not has to fall away. Because this giant light of love is coming, flowing on your life. And every bit of darkness has to flee. So when you look at that, you just love the person in front of you. And when you're so focused on doing that, all your own stuff kind of floats away.
So God is love.
Yeah. Oh,
God is love.
When you look at it, I mean, I get that everybody has this different view of like who God is and who this and who whatever. Like, Christianity is a religion that is based around a man that dropped every offense, but it's represented by like the most offendable people on the planet. Makes no sense. Like, Christianity was never supposed to be known by its doctrine or its theology. It was meant to be known by its passion. Like, it's love in action. It's leaving every person that you meet better off than like, if you look at the life of Jesus, every person he met, he left them better off than before they met him. Every single one. And that's the role model for a good for who we want to be like, right? So with that, you look at it and you're like, every person that I'm going to meet, I'm going to go ahead and I'm gonna find a way either to compliment them or whatever it is. But I'm going to leave them better off than they were before they met me.
It's a beautiful mantra.
But you look at it, and again, it can sound hard, but it's not, because you just literally, it's just love. And the more you love, the less you hate. And so it love conquers all. I don't care what it is. Love is the strongest force in the universe ever. And so you've got this, like, people look at the Bible and they want to dissect it a million different ways. I look at it and I see a God desperate to interact with his children. And all throughout the Bible, he is trying to find ways to have a relationship with them. And then he's like, you know what? He just throws the Hail Mary and he's like, I'm going to send my son. And I'm going to literally just, like, whatever it takes.
Literally the Hail Mary.
You know, and just because he didn't want heaven without us. And when you realize, like, people look at the cross and they're like, man, that is like, you know, our sin was high and whatever, blah, blah. No. You don't pay that high of a price for something that's not that valuable. I'm not going to give you $1 million for, you know, this chair because it's not worth it. So obviously he looked at you and said the price was that high, but he was like, I'll send the greatest thing I've got because you're worth it. When you realize, like, the value of that, then you don't sell yourself cheap because you realize, like, I'm what's that Loki and Avengers, I'm burdened with glorious purpose.
So do you have any parting words for people today, listening, watching?
I think that people need to realize that when you realize who you are, you're no longer affected by circumstances or things that happen to you. Like, there's an old phrase that I heard that I love, that you can't let sin against you produce sin within you. So the guy that cut you off in traffic, like, for whatever reason, idiot, you know, whatever, but you can't cause that to cause a reaction out of you. An addict's worst vulnerability or weakness is that they're very reactionary. Oh, I had a bad day. Screw this. Oh, now it's a good day. You know? Oh, she broke up with me. You know, whatever. Like, everything is reacting to things, and you'll always be a reactionary person until you take the time to discover who you are and who God says you are. And with that, you develop an inner peace that you're not molded by circumstances or life. Like, if this happens, okay, like, one of my, probably my favorite expression ever, I repeat it to myself like 100 times a day sometimes, is, okay, this surprised me, but it didn't surprise God. And I find, like, this crazy peace in that, of just knowing that it's not all on me. Like, I just need to handle what I do and how I react. And oftentimes that's in not react. Like, there's a power in not reacting. And, you know, day 1 turns into day 12. Day 12 turns into day 30. 1 month turns into 4. 4 months turns into a year. But, like, you can never look at it and be, like, so trying, like, because I remember before when I tried to get sober, I might last, like, 2 months, maybe 3. But I never really could pass, like, the 100-day mark. And the reason being is because I'd be looking so far ahead that I would trip over the branches in front of me. You know what I mean? And it was like I never was just here in the moment. Sometimes, like, hey, I didn't use drugs today. Yes, that's amazing.
That's a victory.
Yeah. And maybe that's the only victory that I experienced for the day. But you know what? 2 years ago, like, me and the mother of my child, like, I think she's an amazing person that I have the utmost respect for. But we just, like, because obviously, like, our relationship, she dated that addict, that narcissist, that just jerk, that, you know, everything under the sun guy, right? So there's a reason why she interacts with me the way she does. If you met her, you'd be like, oh my God, this is an amazing girl. She's, like, incredible. And then you'd watch us interact and you'd be like, who is that? like, what happened to the girl that I've, like, this amazing person that I just met? Mm-hmm. But you have to remember that, like, I, in a sense, I made her that way because of, you know, but you literally, before, you know, if we were getting a bang, I'd be like, you know, screw this, I'm out, leave the house, you know, forget you, and come back, like, 2 days later off of, you know, whatever. But funny part, I don't know why I just thought this, but, like, literally, like, she always knew something was wrong, but she never knew I was an addict. God, when she found out, she was like, done. But what's funny is that back then, like, right, but if we get in an argument now, I'm like, okay, like, That's fine. I'm going to go to the gym. I'm not really worried about like it doesn't. There's no. And sometimes like that's the victory. The ultimate victory is to not even get in an argument, obviously. But let's just say that we get in an argument, we argue over whatever it is. Even if I lose my temper and say some mean things that I don't mean, you know, I give myself the grace to be like, okay, but you know what? Yeah, you said some really mean things maybe. Like she said some, you said some, you know how that goes with a couple or like an ex-couple, whatever. But you know what? Like afterwards, you just went to the gym or you went and got a bite to eat. You didn't go snort 12 lines of cocaine and go on a binger looking for, you know, some girl with daddy issues. Like this is a win. Mm-hmm. And we got to celebrate that stuff because you got to start seeing yourself as a winner. You get stuff done. You decided you're going to be sober today and you did that. Now tomorrow you're going to do it again. And then maybe tomorrow's goal is 2 days. So then you do it 2 days. And then now you're at 4. And then you're, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But you start seeing yourself as like, hey, I get stuff done. Like I decided that I'm going to write, you know, for an hour, just express myself on a journal, you know, because maybe you don't like to go to the gym. I think you should go to the gym. Like it just makes you feel better, but to each their own. But okay, I'm going to write for an hour. So you wrote for an hour. Look at you. Like you expressed yourself. You got everything off of you in a positive way that didn't have any negative ramifications. So when you look at that, you're like, okay, like, and so I would tell people, you know, that literally like, it's okay. Like, just like, how do I say it? Like, kind of to go back to like the writing on the mirror thing, you know, it's like, you know, I think, I don't know who said it. I wish I could claim it and say that I said it because it's a really good quote. But it says, your survival rate, or what is it? Out of all the bad days you've had in your life, you're batting 100%. Or how does it go? It says, for all the bad days you've had in life, your survival rate is 100%.
Like you're still here.
Yeah, like all the things that, cause you know, you've had the days where you thought you're gonna die. You're like, this is it for me. Like this is crazy. Whatever it, you know, maybe like I'm gonna lose my house. I'm gonna lose my whatever it is. Like all these things that were like, you know, whatever. Like you're still here. Like you made it. So like that's a perfect record. That's like people aren't perfect, but your record of making it through your bad days is like you're still here. You're still fighting. You're still kicking. So when you look at that, you're like, this too shall pass. I'm not gonna make a home in this situation. I'm gonna pack a tent, and you know what? Tomorrow I'm gonna move on, and I may still be in this valley, but every day I'm getting closer to the end of it. I know it. I am, because after every valley is a mountain. So just keep on walking, keep on walking. But instead, people are like, "This is terrible," and they start building a house, and they make a home in their pain, and they were never meant to. Like, it was meant to pass.
It will pass.
Yeah.
This too will pass. So on that note, if anyone watching or listening wanted to reach out to you, is there a particular way? Do you still have social media? Or
yeah, I don't post a lot, but
say if someone wanted to message you and say, hey,
I am Troyer, Troyer.
I am Troyer.
Yeah,
on Instagram. Okay, so DM you or something like that. Well, very good. Thank you so much, Brent.
Yeah.
That was amazing.
It was a cool thing. I mean, I think that, you know, I think it's awesome what you're doing because you have something in your spirit that wants you to help connect people to create a problem-solving environment. And so it shows a lot about your character and like a lot about your integrity is that you're like, in the beginning, like this is like one of the first episodes, right? Mm-hmm. So literally like, we're allowed to suck. We're allowed to like not have everything go perfect. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
But you're gonna put it out there, and you're gonna keep putting it out there, and you're gonna keep chasing it. You're gonna keep doing it, and you're gonna keep progressing forward. Day by day, episode by episode, whatever it is. And you know, the next thing you know, you might be like the Joe Rogan Experience. You know?
The Joe Rogan Friday.
You know what I mean? And so that's awesome. I think we should applaud it and recognize like the moment that we're in, because one day you're gonna look back at this and be like, that started it all. But you're gonna be glad that you started. And just like every addict out there, if they'll take that step, because I mean, we talked about this for a while, but here we are now doing it. Like, it's always like every step gets easier, and you may get a blow, and maybe like, you know, a future episode you film it and it's like the shittiest thing ever. But you know that like good ones are possible, and so you keep going, and so you know, I encourage you, man.
Thank you. Amen to that. Thank you, bud.
Yes,
Let's
sir.
kick ass. And thank you guys so much. I will tell you about the next episode shortly, so stay tuned. Thank you. Love you. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to let your mind roar. Peace.